Everyone else ran away, but she moved in and built a home for all of us. The city had emptied out in waves. When the last blackout hit, people packed what they could and vanished into the dark, on foot, by bicycle, in battered cars that coughed and shuddered through silent avenues. The trains had stopped months before, the station's marble floors covered in dust and leaves. Only crows and wind remained. But Mara Ivankova lingered at the gates of Central Station, a faded backpack on her shoulders and hope simmering in her chest. She walked beneath the old iron arch, past shattered ticket windows and battered benches, listening to her own footsteps echo. This place, once the heart of the city, felt like the bones of something waiting to live again. Her friends had begged her to leave. "There's nothing left, Mara. It's over." But Mara saw potential in the domed ceiling, the tangle of tracks, the vaults and storerooms below ground. She made her camp on the main platform, her only companions the memory of distant trains and a stubborn conviction: if anywhere could be made safe, it was here. The first night was cold, but Mara was used to loneliness. She lit a small fire in an old trash barrel, watched the flames throw strange shadows against peeling advertisements. In the morning, she explored. Everywhere, the city's abandonment showed. Windows shattered by storms, graffiti scrawled by the last desperate crowds, lockers pried open and emptied. But the bones were good. Mara cleared broken glass and collected discarded blankets. She scavenged from forgotten kiosks, packets of dried soup, a box of candles, maps and train schedules nobody needed anymore. She found the old maintenance tunnels, low, dry, and winding beneath the platforms. There, she dragged her supplies, set up shelves, and marked escape routes in chalk. At dusk, she sat in the echoing silence, listening. Beyond the city, sirens and gunshots faded. Inside the station, only hope remained. Days bled into weeks. Mara worked tirelessly, turning ruin into possibility. She repaired a generator she found in the baggage room, coaxing dim light into the main hall. She patched leaks in the glass roof with scavenged tarp, letting in just enough sun for potted herbs and seedlings. For a long time, Mara was alone. Her only company, the crows that watched from the rafters, and the memory of voices that once filled the station. But word travels, even in a dead city. One night, a girl appeared at the gates, thin, shivering, clutching a battered duffel bag. Mara offered her soup and a sleeping bag, asked no questions. Soon, a young couple arrived, then an old man with a limp, then a mother and her frightened child. Some were sick, some were weary, all were hungry for more than food. Mara welcomed them with a simple promise: if you stay, you work. If you work, you eat. We're safer together than apart. The empty station began to breathe again. The community grew in fits and starts, held together by necessity and Mara's quiet resolve. People brought what little they had: blankets, canned beans, memories of trades and lost talents. An engineer patched up the station's ancient plumbing, rigging rainwater collectors along the platforms. A schoolteacher organized lessons for restless children, chalking out alphabets on battered blackboards. Mara made rounds each morning, checking bunk rooms, rationing supplies, tending the sick with herbal teas from her rooftop garden. She insisted on daily meetings where everyone had a say. They formed crews for cleaning, repairs, foraging, and defense. Some bristled at the rules. But Mara's fairness and calm, even in argument, earned her trust. Still, threats lingered outside. Roving gangs, sudden fires, rumors of disease. Yet, inside Central Station, something stronger than fear was taking root: cooperation. Adapting the station for survival was a daily battle. Mara oversaw the transformation of old waiting rooms into sleeping quarters, the baggage claim into a communal kitchen, and the ticket office into a first aid clinic. She encouraged creativity. Art students painted murals across the walls. A retired musician tuned the long silent station piano, and gardeners coaxed tomatoes and beans from crates lined up beneath sunlit windows. But comfort was always temporary. Food was scarce. Mara led foraging parties into abandoned neighborhoods, always watching for trouble. Sometimes they returned with little more than wild greens and forgotten jars from looted pantries. At night, when fear crept in, Mara gathered the community beneath the domed ceiling for story time. Each person sharing memories of the world before. The station echoed with new voices, laughter, and the rhythm of shared survival. One afternoon, distant gunshots rattled the glass above the main hall. The city's dangers had drawn closer. Mara called a council, her voice steady. "We built this home together. We protect it together. No one goes out alone. Everyone takes a turn on watch." They barricaded doors, reinforced windows with scrap metal, and set up lookout posts on the old platform bridges. Fear tested their unity, but Mara refused to yield. When a small group of armed strangers tried to force their way in, the community, scared but determined, stood together at the gates. Mara stepped forward. "We have nothing to steal, but we share what we have. If you need shelter, you earn it. If not, move on." The strangers, seeing no easy plunder, faded into the empty city. Inside, the survivors breathed again. Trust deepened. The old train station was no longer just a shelter. It was truly becoming a city of survivors. As weeks turned into months, the station found its own rhythm. Rationing became an art. Beans stretched with wild greens, bread baked in makeshift ovens assembled from scrap. Children played hide-and-seek among the pillars, learning every secret tunnel and stair. Old radio parts were repurposed. A soft static music drifted through the halls, pieced together by those who remembered better days. Mara rarely rested. She took note of every face, every worry, mending disputes, and finding jobs for even the most broken souls. But it wasn't just Mara holding the place together anymore. The schoolteacher kept the peace among the children, the engineer organized watch rotations, and the kitchen crew made miracles with whatever they could find. The old station clock was repaired. Now, when its bell tolled, it signaled not just time, but a small, collective hope. Yet even inside their stronghold, loss was unavoidable. A harsh winter came, snow piling on the broken tracks and freezing the water pipes solid. Supplies dwindled dangerously. One of the oldest residents, a retired conductor beloved by the children, grew ill and faded away. Mara led a simple memorial in the echoing main hall. They shared stories, sang the conductor's favorite songs, and lit candles on the old arrivals board. Grief pulled the community tighter. No one ate alone, no child was left shivering. As snow melted, hope returned in cautious green. Herbs sprouted on the rooftops, beans poked through window planters, and a pigeon coop brought fresh eggs to the table. Spring thawed not just the city, but the survivors' resolve. As the city around them decayed, the station flourished. Other survivors arrived, drawn by stories of safety and order. Some came with nothing, others brought skills. A seamstress who taught mending, a mechanic who revived the ancient station generator, a pair of teenagers who built a rainwater filter from scavenged gutters and pipes. Trust wasn't automatic. Every newcomer was given a trial, work to prove their worth and willingness. Mara's reputation spread. Some called her the station keeper, some the Iron Lady, some simply Mara. She never lost sight of what mattered. "This is our home," she reminded the council. "We built it from nothing, together. We protect it and each other." Beneath the old glass roof, the city of survivors grew, stronger and more hopeful, one day at a time. By the time a year had passed, the train station was almost unrecognizable from the ruin Mara had entered. Sunlight streamed through patched glass, falling on vegetable beds and murals that told the story of their survival. Children raced along walkways draped with vines. The communal kitchen buzzed with life, soup simmering in salvaged pots, laughter ringing off tile. Mara saw her vision reflected in every detail, yet she knew it was no longer hers alone. Others led with her. The teacher, the engineer, the cook who organized meals with military precision. A council was elected. Each week, the group gathered to share concerns, celebrate achievements, and plan for the lean times that still came, though less harshly than before. It was not paradise. Arguments flared over chores, over sharing, over the endless question of who could stay. But conflict was met with honesty, not violence. And when a lost traveler arrived at the gate, no one hesitated. There was always a bowl of soup and a place on the platform floor. As more found safety within the station, Mara encouraged self-reliance. No one was allowed to live idle. Classes were held in the old ticket hall. Gardening, first aid, basic mechanics, how to read and write for those who had never learned. Children drew pictures of the world before, but dreamed of the world to come. Their favorite game was train rescue, where teams pretended to rebuild broken rail lines, hauling invisible survivors to safety. The city outside was still dangerous, but inside the station, small joys blossomed. A young couple announced a new baby on the way. The community celebrated with their first real feast in months. When trouble did find them, a break-in attempt, a burst water pipe, a kitchen fire, they responded together, no longer helpless but resilient and organized. Mara kept watch, pride and exhaustion mingling in her heart. One spring, news arrived that would change everything. A scouting party returned from the city's edge with rumors. The river, thought forever dry, now ran with clean water. Grass grew between cracked sidewalks, wild fruit trees blossomed in the ruins. Other enclaves, once isolated, had begun to recover. Messages arrived, carefully folded notes passed between trusted runners. There is safety here. We have food to share. We remember how to rebuild. The council gathered. Should they send people out to help those beyond their walls? Should they open the gates even wider? Mara spoke last. We were saved because we worked together. If the world is healing, we must help it. We are not just survivors, we are the beginning of something new. As the station city voted, the doors swung open wide. The city of survivors was ready to help rebuild the world. The spirit of renewal spread outward from the old station. Teams ventured into the city, clearing debris and planting gardens in abandoned lots. They reconnected with other survivor groups, sharing seeds, tools, and hard-won knowledge about how to build shelter and purify water. Old rail lines became lifelines again. The engineer and her crew restored short sections of track, moving people and supplies across neighborhoods that had seemed lost forever. Children explored the city in supervised expeditions, mapping the safest routes, learning how to spot edible plants and avoid the dangerous pockets that still lingered. At night, the station buzzed with new voices, travelers telling tales of distant communities, of hope flickering even in the deepest darkness. Mara saw the city begin to knit itself back together, slowly, imperfectly, but undeniably alive. The changes inside the station were just as profound. New traditions took hold, a festival for every repaired roof, a mural painted for every successful harvest, a candle lit for each traveler lost or found. The train station, once echoing with emptiness, was now crowded with life and stories. Old clocks ticked on every wall, marking not just hours but the passing of hardship into something new. Young leaders emerged, teenagers who had grown up on the platforms, who dreamed of reopening the entire railway and reuniting far-flung survivors. The council grew as well, welcoming delegates from other communities, learning how to cooperate beyond the safety of their walls. Mara, older and slower, watched with gratitude. She knew her role was changing, but her purpose was clear. To keep hope alive, you must let it change hands. Years turned. Mara became a living legend, her story woven into every mural and song sung at night. On the anniversary of her arrival, the entire city gathered in the main hall. Children placed wildflowers at her feet. The council honored her with a plaque carved from a fallen station sign. She moved in when everyone else ran away. She built us a home. That night, beneath the glass dome, Mara spoke to the city. We survived because we chose each other. We endured because we shared. When you see an empty place, remember, life can return if you are brave enough to begin. Her words echoed through the station and out into a world that was at last beginning to heal. Decades passed. The station city became a hub of life, surrounded by gardens, small workshops, and schools filled with laughter. Old trains, once thought forever silent, ran again, shuttling between rebuilt neighborhoods and distant enclaves, each carrying stories of rebirth. The murals inside the station became a living history. The early days of Mara's solitude, the faces of the first survivors, the festival of the first harvest, the train tracks reaching out like arms to embrace the new world. Mara, hair silvered and hands marked by years of labor, found peace in mentoring the next generation. She watched children she had once cradled, now leading council meetings, forging alliances, and dreaming beyond the old city's horizon. The council grew larger, inviting voices from every corner of the growing network of settlements. Some days the main hall rang with debate and argument, but at dusk, all disputes ended with shared bread and music. The old fear of isolation was replaced with a sense of belonging, each person a thread in a vast living tapestry. Mara's final years were spent in the company of friends, family, and countless grateful strangers. She became known as the keeper of the city. Her advice sought on every question of peace, justice, and rebuilding. But Mara knew her time was drawing to a close. On the night of the city's 50th anniversary, the largest crowd yet gathered beneath the Grand Dome. People from distant communities traveled by restored rail just to hear Mara speak. She stood, voice soft but steady. When the world broke, I walked into this place alone. I never imagined it could become a home for so many. You have made this station a beacon, a promise that we can rise from ruin, together. Never forget the lesson. It is not the walls that make a home, but the hands and hearts within. The hall filled with applause, laughter, and tears. That night, Mara fell asleep in her old corner of the platform, surrounded by those she had saved. She did not wake again. The years rolled on, but Mara's story endured. The city expanded, its heart always the old station, now part museum, part living center, and part sanctuary. Trains ran regularly, bringing in new faces and sending out knowledge, seeds, and supplies. A great mural, stretching the length of the main hall, depicted Mara's journey. Her arrival in the ruins, the first survivors, the building of a community, and the flowering of hope where none had seemed possible. On every anniversary, children led a parade through the city, reciting the words that Mara had spoken so often. We survived because we chose each other. When visitors asked how the city had been born, they were told, everyone else ran away. But she moved in and built a home for all of us. And so, in the place where loneliness once echoed, a new world had taken root, one where no one would ever be alone again.